This regular meeting of the Vergennes City Council, July 24th at 5:30. Would all of you, to order, all of you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have one amendment to the agenda. If you would add on a 5K, approve employment agreement for the zoning administrator. Okay, we'll move on with the agenda. No visitors?
A few.
No visitors? No, that means, on the agenda, visitors means when we put their name on there and we're actually going to call them as a person to speak. Approve minutes and warrant. Any questions on the warrants? Do we have any warrants?
Yeah, there is. There's actually, there's a couple of sets. Obviously, a lot of bills got paid at the last meeting. The reason why there are two sets, and we think this is it, relative to bills for purchases in the previous fiscal year that'll go against the FY 2018 budget, and then the other invoices are these are bills that came in since last Tuesday.
Okay, so we have approval of minutes, and it's for the meetings of June 19th, June 26th, and and July 17th. I need a motion to approve the minutes of those three dates. I'll make a motion. The motion has been made and seconded by someone. Okay. Any amendments to these minutes? We'll start with June 19th. Anybody have any amendments to the June 19th meeting? No? How about the June 26th meeting? Any amendments to that? No? This is really unusual, folks. Usually there are amendments to the meeting minutes.
We got one more to go.
Yeah, I know. July 17th. Any amendments to the July 17th minutes? By golly. Boy, I guess so. Well, then, motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of June 19th, June 26th, and July 17th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No opposed. Citizens' comments. Does anybody out there have any comments, other than if you want to make a comment about Mel, which we'll do later? Okay. Okay, we move to business. 5A, request for funding from the Vergennes City Band.
So, Rennie, there's a letter in the agenda packets from Sue O'Daniel and Jim Lanfer requesting some funds to support the city band. I will tell you that I want to say a couple of decades ago, the city typically bought music and helped support the city band financially to the tune of around $500 or $600 a year. And they haven't requested any money from the city since I don't know when, before we had an electronic accounting system. So anyway, they've requested $1,000. And I will tell you that when I put the budget together for the city council, I increased recreation funding from $7,000 to $10,000, and I didn't think that Sue knew about that, but apparently she caught wind and immediately wanted to tap into that resource. So I would recommend that the city council allocate $1,000 from the recreation funding line item to support the city band and their, obviously, their summer-long Monday night concerts in the park.
Okay, I need a motion to do that. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Review of financial management questionnaire. I'll just pose the question of whether the council has any questions, or
We did
Should I
make
make
one
the change?
Yeah, we'll let us,
Okay.
let me just tell you, we weren't necessarily testing you. Joan filled this out, and of all of the questions that she misfired on, it says, have you borrowed any money from the town? And she wrote yes. And I really did not recall that particular loan. And she said that that wasn't the question that was in that box last year that she answered. So anyway, she's assured me that she has not borrowed any money from the town, and has submitted a revised sheet indicating no across from that question. What this deals with is the auditors from Fothergill, Segali, and Valley were here last Wednesday, and this is a part of their, one of the required documents that they want to see come from the clerk relative to internal controls or lack thereof. But again, if there's any questions, direct those to Joan.
any questions on that? I don't think we actually have to take any action on it, other than you seeing it. The board has to see it.
Good one, Joan? That's good, okay.
Okay, appointment of planning commission members. Did you get anything from John?
I did not double check. Shannon, I reached out earlier in the week to those members with expiring terms, and I did not hear from John Coburn, and I didn't know if maybe he was away.
I would assume that he wants to continue, he's working on a project right now for us, so yes.
Earlier today, and agree that he should be appointed, and, he can always resign if need be.
So we
So,
have,
yeah, go ahead.
so we have 4 members whose terms are ending August 1st. Cheryl Brinkman, John Coburn, Shannon Haggett, who's the chair, and Carrie McFarland. And so I need a motion, all of those, as far as we know, are willing to continue on for a new 2-year term. So I need a motion to appoint those 4 people for a term that ends on August 1st, 2020. The motion has been made
Second.
and seconded. Any discussion on this? Okay, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, then we move on to the appointment of Development Review Board members. And on this one, we would have had 3, except that Peter Guerin, who is the chair of the Development Review Board, is going to be our new zoning administrator, so he will be actually resigning, and we'll have a vacancy there. But the 2 that are re-upping are Timothy Cook and Jason Mullen. Again, similar to the Planning Commission, is for a 2-year term ending August 1st, 2020. So I need a motion on that. A motion has been made and seconded. Okay, any discussion on that? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, so we have appointment of alternate to the Transportation Advisory Committee, and the alternate is going to be Shannon Haggett. So I would need a motion to appoint Shannon as the alternate to Transportation Advisory Committee.
I will make that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on that? Thank you, Shannon. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nobody's opposed. Motion carries. Item 5F, appointment of city manager. That will be deferred because that means the appointment of whoever the new city manager will be. So we'll move on to the next one, appointment of city clerk treasurer and set compensation. The set compensation part we will do at another meeting. However, we do need to appoint Joan as the city clerk treasurer.
I will make that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nobody's opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Appointment of city attorney. I meant to ask you about this. Do we appoint the firm or the person?
We appoint the firm.
The firm, okay. So the recommendation is to appoint Wilmette and Runcie as the firm representing the city. I need a motion on that.
I will make that motion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody's opposed. Motion carries. 5I, appointments to the Recreation Facilities and Program Advisory Committee. This is a newly, I guess, reestablished committee, so we have not appointed members. I will defer appointing members to that committee to the next meeting. Report of the City Manager Search Committee. Jeff.
Well, I would like to report that we received 42 applications through VLCT as to act as Mel's replacement. We are going to be beginning the screening interviews on Thursday. The search committee met on Saturday and narrowed that field down to 7 candidates, all of whom we feel are highly qualified, and we hope that within the next 2 weeks we will have a recommendation to make to the council to proceed with interviews.
This is wonderful. I wish it had happened the first time around, but this is our second time trying to do this. And I'll just say that we can't replace Mel because he's not replaceable, but we can find another city manager to take his place. The last item on our regular agenda is the added one. It's 5K, approve employment agreement for the zoning administrator. We put together an agreement with the potential zoning administrator, who is Peter Guerin, and I sent that around to all of you to review. Does anyone have any changes to that? Okay. So again, I need a motion to approve that employment agreement. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No one's opposed. Motion carries. Yep. 5C.
Planning Commission, I shot John a text while we were talking, and he said, yes, he's in.
Oh, okay. See, we're communicating in the wrong way, because we've
He said he
using-
sent Mel an email, but just,
I didn't double check it.
yep, but he's in, so.
Good.
Okay. So, city managers report. You have it.
Sure. So I want to just burn down through these items here. First item relative to the acceptance of Commodore Drive as a city street. It was actually back in February of 2017 that this came up to the city council, and the city council passed a motion accepting the first phase of Commodore Drive as a city street. That section of roadway was not turned over to the city because at the time there was a legal matter relative to a shed that may or may not have been located within the 60-foot wide street right-of-way, and therefore there was a disputed property line, and I didn't want to have the city get involved with any litigation over disputed lands. And so at my recommendation, had Peter Kahn resurvey the first 150 feet of that road so that it is only 150 feet, only 50 feet wide, and then it immediately goes to 60 feet wide per the drawings. And the deed has been prepared, and I am about to sign that deed as probably my last official act. I will tell you that the final coat of pavement is not on that road, but I have a check, in the amount of $11,220, which is a calculated amount of money of about 750 feet of road, 24 feet wide, inch and a half thick, equals 165 tons. At $68 a ton equals $11,220. And so Peter has written this check to the city of Vergennes. There will be a memorandum during one of the days that I'm working here between now and the end of August to outline how and when that road will receive its last coat of pavement. The key is that we don't want to put that top coat of pavement too early, because it's just going to be traveled on by construction vehicles, but also you don't want to pave it too late, because the base coat really can suffer from the lack of that top coat of pavement. So there's a sweet spot out there that we need to find out, and there's money in place for that final coat of pavement. Wastewater treatment plant and pump station evaluation. As the council knows, City of Vergennes is subject to a 1272 order relative to the overflows that have occurred at the McDonough Drive pump station. In addition, the last time the treatment plant was upgraded was about 20 years ago. And so Rick Chaput and I put together a request for qualification, sent it out to numerous engineering firms, and we have 4 responses. The firm of Tata and Howard, Du Bois and King, Aldrich and Elliott, and Green Mountain Engineering. They supplied 4 sets of these. Rick has 3 of them that he's sharing with a couple of his colleagues. If there's anybody in the room that wants to read engineering proposals, they're sitting in a chair in my office. And so a decision will be made, I'm going to say, over the next month or so to get somebody in place to begin that evaluation. 2018 budget report. Obviously, the report that I sent out to the board did not reflect those 4 or 5 bills that we processed today, but these numbers are pretty final. And I can't help but say, Matt, that, relative to the police department budget, and this is certainly not Joan's fault, I really had thought that Joan had done all of the transfers that she does on a quarterly basis to various funds, like the sewer line replacement fund, sewer capital funds, and there's a number of transfers that she's done, but relative to the police cruiser purchase, whereby money was from the water tower continuation fund, that's typically not something that she does, and so that fourth quarter did not get done along with those others, and so there was a $15,000 transfer that occurred effective June 30, but the police department budget still was able to come in at 99.71%, Mr. Chaput, just so you know.
Administration, because you
No,
went
we
over an
didn't.
administration, Mel.
It's all legit.
Thank you, Mel. Great job.
So anyway, as you can see, the budget is really quite tight, and I'm just going to move right into the projection. And you'll notice in the other thing, Matt asked me about what my gut was as it related to the projected surplus in the general fund. I told him $150,000, and I did not know about the $15,000 transfer that hadn't occurred. And so pre-audit, our general fund surplus stands at $123,737. And I'll talk about delinquent taxes a little bit further. We still are waiting for police fines, and Joan says that typically the June collections doesn't get to us until later in July. So there is another chunk of revenue that is going to come in. I really don't think that there's going to be any more bills. So that 123.7, I'm going to say, will only go up, but it's not going to go up a lot. But it's certainly safe relative to what the City Council authorized to use to offset the tax rate. The capital improvements and special funds, you're all used to this report. Those are all of the other funds and their balances. And the only, I don't know if it's the only one, but we have not moved the 25% of water tower revenue into the continuation fund. So that expense, if you will, needs to occur, and that will occur before the audit is finalized. The swimming pool budget, swimming pool finances run with the heat, all right? And you can tell by the 2018 season that we are having a very good pool season. And you can see seasons passes are up. We are halfway through the season, I believe, was on Sunday. So if you just think about that, so just think that this report, which I sent to you on Friday, all right, that really represents about halfway through the season. So it does appear that we're in pretty good shape at this point. Relative to the FY19 budget, obviously there's only been one set of bills that have been paid for this. So obviously all of the amendments to the budget that the council had did during their budget work sessions are fully incorporated into here, and there really isn't, it's too early to pass judgment on anything. Relative to delinquent taxes, as I've explained in the past, delinquent taxes, it's really about how much delinquent taxes the city has 60 days into the fiscal year, which is August 30th. And a year ago, 60 days into the fiscal year, the delinquent taxes stood at about a little over $48,000. And if you notice on the delinquent tax report, as of Friday, there is only $27,000 owed. So we have already improved on that position by about $20,000, and that money goes right to the bottom line and is part of that 123. So the good news is that there is a good handle on delinquent taxes. But there still is some accounts, I really do not like to see any numbers in 2014, 2015, 2016, and so there still is a little bit of work to do in that regard, but overall, it's a pretty impressive, it's not really thanks to me, it really shows that in Vergennes, we really don't have a delinquent property tax problem. That's really pretty impressive numbers. Other topics of interest, I don't have any more already.
No? You want to say anything about the tax sale?
Oh, I can, yeah. I did put 4 properties up for tax sale, and one of them immediately came in and made a substantial payment and agreed to make substantial payments the following 2 months. They've already paid one, so I didn't even send that one to the newspaper. Another one, the other 2 of the other 3 were paid in full, thus avoiding the tax sale. So that's part of the reason why the delinquencies are down to $27,000. The fourth one, although I had a number of email exchanges with the owner, they just were not able to come up with all of the money that they needed to avoid the tax sale. And so Jeff Fritz was at the tax sale and bid the amount of taxes and costs. It's around $5,300. The delinquent property owner has 1 year to redeem the property by paying that $5,300 plus about $53 a month in interest, and their plan, at least confirmed by email, is to get the city paid back in a very prompt manner. So, and I suspect that would be in 2 or 3 months. So.
Okay. No other topics of interest, and the next item is the mayor's report, and the mayor has no report for this evening in order to get on to the rest of the evening. So the next motion that is in order is to adjourn this meeting. We have a motion to adjourn. Has someone seconded that? It's been seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.
Well, that's true. Although I didn't bother Lori that much over my 9 years as the chief of police, I know that Lori has a year-old story. And like I said, I know my wife is speaking on that behalf that they share the same burdens that we carry. So, Lori, I want to thank you for your dedicated service as the city manager's wife. Thank you for allowing us to have you. Okay. If I may, just for a second, I don't want to take too long here, but I will tell you that I've worked for some great bosses over my time, either in the military or in police work, and I have to say that Mel is right up at the top. I remember the day I came in and I talked to Mel about my employment here. I was selected as the chief of police, my good fortune to have that acknowledgement, and I asked Mel if I needed a contract. He says, nope. I didn't know whether that was a good thing or not. But Mel and I agreed right off the bat that one of the primary focuses of any public servant, especially the police department, is customer service. And Mel embodied that theory. He always took the time to spend with people, whether it be an employee of the city or somebody coming into his office, and he always made them feel welcome. Mel is a straight shooter, and I think people appreciated that. Another thing I heard many times throughout the city, that if there was anybody that's going to be watching after my tax dollars, it's going to be Mel Hawley. I would agree with that. And I was listening to Rennie when he was talking about how Mel was dedicated to the city of Vergennes. That's very true. And even though now that I'm not a resident of the city of Vergennes, I feel as though I am. And I feel as though that with Mel's guidance and leadership, we've made a police department that's second to none, not only in the Addison County, but throughout our state and throughout the United States. Mel's leadership and guidance, his steady leadership and guidance, never getting too excited. Just we worked through the challenges that we faced, and he was an outstanding guy to work for. Not only Mel was my boss, but he's a personal friend, and I'm going to miss him dearly, as all the police officers are. God bless you, Mel.
Thank you, Jared.
Okay, do we have someone else who would like to make a few comments? Jerry Ann?
I don't know that you ever have.
So Mel and I go way back when, if we stood here 27 or 8 years ago, we'd have to move a little pigeon shit out of the way, right? Some plaster might have been on the floor here, and talk about bones in the building, he knew the bones pretty well. But Mel's an example of someone who was able to shift his position on a very important project, and that was the Opera House renovation. And when Chief Merkel said he was watching for tax dollars, he wasn't kidding around. And back when we were doing the restoration in 1993 or 4, when we came to the city council to see if we could form the Friends of the Vergennes Opera House, we were the third group who came before this group over probably 20 years. So what were we going to do that was going to be anything different? Well, what we did was we gathered together and said, let's fix the problem and not the blame. And that was the difference. And Mel went along with that just fine. If he hadn't, you could imagine what this place would look like today. Probably the same. It took a cultural shift in the people who love this community and have lived here for so many decades to allow this building to be restored the way it was. And I always say a community can only go to where its leadership comes from. And Mel was one of those leaders, and he decided to shift, and we all followed him. So now you're going to retire. You know, there's lots of volunteer opportunities here at the Opera House. There's chairs to be moved and floors to be swept. Because as an all-volunteer organization, you know, we could use the help. About 5 years ago, Mel called me up and said, Jerry Ann, you know, maybe you want to get back involved in the Opera House. After 13 years I had been away, because they could probably use a little bit of help. And so I did. You know, if he could shift, so could I. And that was supposed to be for 6 months. So, so are you really retiring, or is it just for 6 months? Anyway, we really wish you, the board and officers at the Friends of the Vergennes Opera House, wish you the very best. We know you're not going to go very far. We know your phone numbers. We want to give to you and your wife this ticket for 2 for our season this year.
Oh, nice.
To our 4 shows, because I'm not going to miss an opportunity to make a commercial out of my time up here. So our season opens in October with a really fun thing. So you make sure you come to something of time now.
Absolutely.
And thank you for all your efforts, and thank you for all your time.
My wallet.
Do we have any others who would like to make comments? You don't have to come up here to make a comment. You can make it from where you're at. Okay.
One little thing first from Al. So my first professional interaction with Mal was on a consolidation study committee for the school board the first time around. And we started having our opinions about the tax table, the tax savings that was up there. And I think we were like nose to nose, like practically screaming at each other. And, but that's fine, you know, we respect each other and actually like each other. So that was my first interaction. And then the second consolidation study committee that I was on, I invited Mel to be part of our committee because I learned very early on it is better to sit on the same side of the table as Mel Hawley. So there have been a lot of interactions, the Solid Waste Board, Planning Commission, and recently I am now a delegate to the Addison County Regional Planning Commission in taking Mel's spot, as it were. And I just want you to know, so at the last Planning Commission meeting, when I said I was the new Mel Hawley, a couple people cheered. And they said, yes! And then I asked, and then I put my hand up and said, Adam, why can't we see the budget in the package that gets sent to us ahead of time so we can look at the numbers and actually know what we're like voting on? And then the people, I think, said, ugh. So I hope that I can, you know, kind of have the same effect on the Planning Commission and the other committees that you have had, because it's been very, you know when Mel Hawley is on a committee. And so here's your little packet. They thought you might want to make a plaque out of it. I thought you might want to do whatever it is you want to do with that, but it's yours.
I think they're saying don't come back, is what they're really saying.
I haven't got my official one yet. But anyway, thank you for all the different committees I've been on. I actually have learned a great deal from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Oh, okay. I hope there's going to be a roaster in this group.
I don't know about that. I've got a report that I haven't added any revenue to your fund for fines, so that's good. No speeding fines.
And what about the missus?
She's free too. But my name's Tim Ryan, and I grew up in Vergennes. And I've known Mel since probably you've been 5 or 6 years old, because I used to go to your parents, Eleanor and Spencer Hawley, and deliver eggs when you were 5. And I delivered their Burlington Free Press when you were 6. And that's how much I've known you. And when we were growing up, I played competitive golf, and you and I did some events together where you would caddy for me. And we went over to Augusta together. I remember that.
Not that Augusta, not Augusta,
No,
Georgia.
Augusta, Maine. Isn't that right? You played the New England Amateur
yeah.
over there? And now I also observed, Mel, that he's very, very smart on the golf course. So Mel chooses the teams over the weekends. And that's Saturday and Sunday, and we all flock around, and he decides who's going to play with who. And he's very, very smart, because most of the time he's on the team that wins. So that's good. But one of the stories is, that's what I have. I know stories, and I live in Waltham now, and I serve on the Select Board of Waltham, and I come in and get advice from you, and
No charge.
no charge, but we take up less than 15 minutes at a time. So sitting on the board, we review bills just like all of you do, and these bills come in, and one came in from the fire department, City of Vergennes, where Town of Waltham and Vergennes works together with recycling and fire department. And this bill came in, and all it says is, fire across from the Victory Baptist Church. And I thought, what the heck was that? So we discussed it, and what it was actually lightning that hit the power pole up in Waltham on Route 7 across from the church. So I thought to myself, like, I want to save revenue for our town just like you do for your town. And I thought, well, this is a good reason to me and to all of us on the board. We considered it an act of God that lightning struck up there, even close to the church. So I thought I would present that to Mel, and you, being as judicial as you are, would agree. And then we would spread it over the towns that the fire department works with. So I dutifully came in that Wednesday after a meeting, or the Tuesday after a meeting, and presented the case. And he says, Timmy, let me just tell you, you're absolutely right. I feel it was an act of God. But just so that you know, that lightning hit Waltham, so Waltham pays the bill. I've had many issues, or several issues, where I would come and not just seek your advice, but kind of get your approval on some of my ideas. And of course, my ideas were to save money on my side.
Right.
And I gotta say, I never did win that battle with you. I mean, one of them goes back, is it one more story, is that all right? Sure. This is February 1982. The council passed an ordinance, and there were stray dogs coming in, and I'm afraid the stray dogs were mine and Liz's. And we had a dog Slider, and we had a dog Buffo, and they would just come into Vergennes. So with your direction, you got the council to pass an ordinance, and the ordinance was escalating fines that would be prohibitive for any owner or any dog to come into this town, right?
Right.
First offense, $10. Second offense, $25. Third offense, $50, and that was a bunch of money back in 1982. So sure enough, as soon as it was passed, within the week, both our dogs came into Vergennes, got picked up. I went over and saw Mel, and I said, Mel, it looks like we got $10 on Buffo, we got $10 on Slider. I owe you $20. And Mel said, no, we're not administering the fines per dog, it's per owner of the dog, right?
Exactly.
So that way you could get more revenue for the that's when Dick Adams was mayor, I think, let's see. Yeah, Dick Adams was mayor. And we had a little council session on it. And we had the Vergennes Enterprise of Vermont do little illustrations and record the evidence. And I presented my case. Dick Adams agreed with my thinking. Mel did not. I lost. It cost me another $50 or whatever. But anyway, for me personally, I thank you for the service that you've given this community. I mean, just as you say, 30 years in Vergennes from one person that grew up in Vergennes. You just put your heart and soul into this community, including the other 4 towns. I mean, you thought of everyone. So I personally thank you. And I know we as a community thank you. and our staff at my business thanks you. So you will be missed, and we appreciate your good work.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Tim. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? I was beginning to wonder whether Tim was going to sit down or not. So if there's no one else, there's a little bit more that we have, that meaning the city council. A couple of presentations to Mal for his retirement. The first one being a plaque. It's a plaque that we had. Now, we probably, with over 30 years of service, should have gotten him a gold watch or something like that, but we really couldn't afford a Rolex. And we thought a Timex was too cheap, so he's getting a plaque. So I'll read this plaque. The city of Vergennes, Vermont, is proud to honor Mel Hawley, city manager, on this 24th day of July 2018, for his more than 30 years of service to the city councils and citizens of Vergennes, in deep appreciation and recognition for his many hours of effort, selfless contributions, dedication, and professionalism so graciously given to the citizens of Vergennes and presented by the Vergennes City Council, all members signing.
Thank you.
And the last thing is, in this envelope is a gift certificate. This is a collection that was taken from the City Council, and it's a gift to you, and we hope that you enjoy all of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, I guess this concludes the fancy-dancy speech stuff part of the program. There are refreshments over there, plenty of them, so please enjoy them. It's time to socialize, talk with Mel and his family, although, I forgot one more thing.
Yeah.
I have to give Mel his opportunity.
Right.
Come right up.
Thank you. I was really going to write a long speech, and like I always tell George, I don't want to hear the War and Peace version of anything. So, another thing, Tim, thanks for all those nice, kind words. You're still putting the 2-footers. You still got to putt them. It doesn't matter. You can't putt. So, listen, what I wanted to do, obviously, you met my better half, Lori, but I wanted to. There's a lot of folks that know the rest of my family, but I wanted to introduce them. My son Aaron, stand up Aaron. Aaron took the train in from Rochester, New York. He actually works for Middlebury Interactive Languages, but works from his place, from where he lives out in Rochester, New York. So he's been staying with us for a couple of days. My daughter, Amy D., Amy Sears, and her better half, much better half, I should add, Andrew Sears. Andrew is a manager at Allscripts Medical Software, and Amy is a special educator, just recently starting this year at Mary Hogan, working full-time as a special educator. So one of the things I very fortunate, a lot of people talk about how their kids, there isn't anything in Vermont or whatever, and their kids go away, and I'm very fortunate that, Aaron's in Rochester, but that's not really too far away, but Amy's in Moncton, and so she's 8.4 miles away from our house. Anyway, I'm really grateful that my kids are close by. But you guys can sit down because you're not really important. The real important ones are the other two. And if they could come up, Spencer, can you come here, Spencer? And Camille? He needs a cookie? Come on over, can I have a cookie? So, this is Spencer Sears, named after my father, Spencer Pollard, and Camille Sears. We're trying to get her to behave. So, obviously one of the main reasons why I really need to step away from here is because I really want to spend more time with the family. And when you look at these little buzzers, I mean, really, right? Tim, just keep it up. So you heard this one little story that I've told many, many times, and it's about how I got started in here. And yeah, I came to work for the city as a city clerk in October of 1977, but I actually did some work, if you will, for the city before October of 1977. It was back in, I think, 1975 or 1976. Dick Burke, who was the mayor at the time, gave me a call and wanted me to come down to his office and talk to him. And I went down and talked to him, and he asked me to be a member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment and Planning Commission. Now, I mean, I was a golfer. I mean, I don't know anything about any of this stuff. So, and I worked at a mom and pop store at C&F LeBou's Grocery with Gino. So anyway, Dick asked me if I would consider being appointed to the Zoning Board of Adjustment and Planning Commission. I didn't have any idea what the hell the job entailed, nor did he. But he says you'll be good. You'll be good. There's some good guys in there. Jim McClay's on there, Charlie LeBou's on there. There's some good guys. You'll fit right in. I said okay. So anyway, my father had passed away. I was living at home before I got married. I was living at home with my mom. So I go to my first meeting, and I come to City Hall, and I walk in there, and I'm 22, 23 years old, however old I was. I go to this meeting, and there's people at the table, there's people around, there's lawyers, they all got suits and ties and all this stuff, and there's a big fight about a right-of-way and can they subdivide and all this. I couldn't follow any of the discussion whatsoever. But I left and I come home, and my mom says, "How'd it go?" I said, "I ain't cut out for this," all right? And so here it is, 50 years later, right? And I'm doing all this zoning type stuff. So I guess maybe I was, set out to do that kind of work. So anyway, that was. So then I'm just going to give you the other Dick Burke story. So it was about 2 or 3 years later. An opening came up at the city clerk's office and clerk treasurer's office, and Dick called me up. It's just kind of funny. I remember. I have a lot of respect for Dick Burke, and he was mayor in Vergennes for 19 and a half years. And Roger, you were on the board. You were on the board with Dick. I don't get much more conservative than Dick Burke. But anyway, he had me come down and talk to him, and he wondered if I would consider being the city clerk treasurer. And I said, well, what is it? What do you do? He said, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Edith Carpenter will train you, and you go work on Saturdays, and you'll be fine. And I thought, well, I said, well, how much it pay? And he says, well, I think it was like $8,400 or something like that. And I said, okay, all right. So I took the job, and did that for about 3.5 years. And the city manager's job came up. Ken Teese I'd worked with Ken. Joan was here. And Ken had open heart surgery and was obviously out of commission for quite a few back then. You're talking about open heart surgery in 1979. Now that's not an in and out operation in 1979. So anyway, I actually got a little taste of being acting city manager there for a little while, and didn't really. It was fine, and I think it was really because the people were fine. I learned most of my customer service skills at C&F LeBou's Grocery. I know I was going to tell you about Dick Burke. You know, Dick Burke, relative to the clerk's job, you know, he thought, you know what, Mel, you'd be a good treasurer because I've never seen anybody count bottles faster than you. And so that's, you know, so that's how I landed that job. So really, so you know, anybody, if any of your kids are like working at redemption centers, I mean, really, you can. It's a real springboard. So anyway, obviously, for some reason, Dick Burke, he saw something that I think he really liked the idea of having a local person come and work here, and Dick was really great to get along with. So anyway, it was a lot of, you know, it was really a lot of fun. So anyway, listen, thanks a lot, and this isn't, this isn't a funeral here. It is my last kind of regular day. I have agreed to stay on until August 31st, working 1 day a week. And so I'm not really the interim city manager. Lynn turned to me when they couldn't find a manager. She says, Mel, you want to be interim? I said, no, I'm not. Not interested in being interim. But it's fine for me to stay on and work 1 day a week. George, we'll have a little schedule. I'm not going to hide in here. Everybody will know when I'm here on those days. And hopefully within that 40 odd, you've got a shining star in there, and the city can move on from here. So listen, I want to thank all of you that are here. You know, George and the gang, obviously Jim and his crew, Patrick, I mean, really, all these firemen, I go to firemen's, and even you, Sheila, I go to all these firemen meetings. I go to the fireman meeting, twice a year to hand out money. They love to see me come. It's really about the money. The guys down at the wastewater treatment plant, do a great job. I mean, really. I've been really blessed with such solid people around me. That's really the whole secret. Got a really strong development review board, really strong planning commission. Every so often somebody said they think of somebody that's on the planning commission, say, they'd be a great city council member. I say, leave them alone. leave them alone. They're right where they need to be. All right. So anyway, and that's really the whole secret. Is, you all read about dysfunctional boards and committees and all that type of stuff. And at the end of the day, in most cases, people just need a little bit of training. It's really all they need. And, and I'm serious, and I think that's the whole secret is you need to get people on boards that are willing to learn about what their role is and what their responsibilities are, and it works out just fine. And people look forward to the next meeting. So been absolutely blessed in that regard. So thank you very much for putting up with me all these years. So, thank you.
Okay, now I'll rewind and say, okay, there are refreshments. Please take the refreshments. This is the social time. Please talk with Mel and his family. Thanks for coming.